Hello everyone and welcome back to another pen and paper podcast. We are on the Blue Sheet series, so if you haven't seen it before, this is Blue Sheet and it's the second one in the series, part 2 essentially. I think there'll be 4, maybe 5 in total. For those of you who haven't seen part 1, go grab a look at the video. It's just called Blue Sheet. It's a quick recap. A blue sheet is a comprehensive view of an opportunity and account, and it's done by examining some key areas of the opportunity and the account in a way that helps you build, I think, for me, a more holistic view of what's going on at the account. Last week we looked at, if I get it out, we looked at competitive position, and we saw that one of the key areas that I looked at was on the significance to the individual, or was it institutional, how that became a project, and when that project became resourced. So take a look. I thought it was quite interesting. Once we've done this section here, in terms of competitive position, we then take what we know about that, and we apply it then to whether or not we're matching their buying criteria. And the continuity from the first one is that we look at the buying criteria rather than the needs, because the buying criteria are driven probably from the institutional level, which is really the broader impact of what we're trying to do. It doesn't mean that needs aren't important. We still have to make sure that the tool does what they need, the frontline stakeholders, but the buying criteria are what the institutional people are looking for. And I don't think we capture that effectively in our normal opportunity in pipeline management. So I built this. Now, it's very simple, and what it does, apart from looking at whether or not we capture buying criteria. So I think the first thing that it's hugely important is one that we actually, are we assessing buying criteria effectively in the sales process. This isn't needs, remember, it's the institutional level criteria. It's the institutional level understanding of what they want to get out of the tool and how we as salespeople capture this. So the first thing, which is the important bit, is are we assessing buying criteria properly within our own sales process? I don't think we are, but you may be, of course. I think there's a way that we can help understand that better. The second thing that I want to cover today is when we look at buying criteria, I think the biggest problem that we have is that we assume that the buying criteria, BC for short, are static, which I think is a huge challenge for us. So these are the two I'm looking at today, and the reason why I thought I'd look at these two is because they're interrelated. And when we look at these two and we see what happens, I think there's some real advantages in how we can take our understanding of how we assess the buying criteria and removing this assumption that the buying criteria are static. I'm going to work on assumption 2 first, which is assuming buying criteria are static. I don't think they are. If they are, it's a wonderfully transactional product you're selling, so great, basically click and buy. 2, if they are static, I would assume and I would think that you haven't uncovered the complete criteria around what the customer's looking for, and that your deals either take a really, really, really long time to close if they do close, or they don't close at all. So what do I mean by assuming buying criteria is static? Well, when sit another stick person, I told you there'd be more. When a sales team gets involved and she's asking these questions and she gets engaged into the sales process, now it could be inbound and outbound. This all starts at time is 0, right? So T0, right? And we're looking at buying criteria, and the sales process and the sales teams get involved, and throughout the sales process, we're assuming that the buying criteria don't change all the way through to the end of the sales process. I think we all can understand that actually they do evolve, and they evolve because of the sales process. We're driving it as the salespeople. It actually changes. So their criteria will change for 2 reasons. One, because we are helping them understand how to reframe the challenges they have internally because of what we're offering. We're not selling something so they can carry on doing exactly what they're doing in exactly the same way. That's not what, I hope, that's not what we're doing. We're coming along with knowledge. It could be a platform, a solution, a service that's just going to change how they want to do what they do. And so their initial buying criteria here, time at the very beginning of the sales process, when she gets on the phone and says, hey, I think we can help you, are going to change over time. So knowledge drives that. The second one is the number of people involved in the decision-making process. So not only is it our knowledge and the shared knowledge and the way that we understand or work with our prospects that will alter the buying criteria, but also the number of people involved will have an impact on that knowledge that we're looking to and we need, by the way, and the knowledge that we're looking to include within our sales process. So I think if we assume that buying criteria are static through the sales process, I think we're missing out on some key levers, particularly us as salespeople. So in assessing buying criteria, I very simply created a matrix. And what this matrix looks at is essentially 4 key things, but 3 really. First thing is what is it? What is the thing that they're looking to do? Now it could be very generic, right? It could be like innovation, and you know it's innovation because guess what? You've done your due diligence and you read in the annual report that they're looking to do some, innovation is a key driver for their digital strategy for 2020, 2021, for example. It could be a little bit more specific in that they want to democratize insights, which is quite a common one, which which is useful. Again, it's a buying criteria. So what does that mean? Well, let's say that it needs to be a mobile-driven solution. But let's say that's what they talk about. It could also be even more specific than that, in that they want an API or white labeling. Okay. Now, these are quite common buying criteria. I've been fairly generic here because I didn't want to be too specific about what I normally go through, but I wanted to let you know that these buying criteria are coming down from, let's say, the institutional requirements and the project team. So some of them are going to be a little bit more vague, strategic, and some are going to be more technical, as you can see here. So what do we do with that? Well, the first thing that we do as a business is we then score that. So we will score this out of +5 or -5. And what this gives us, and we don't use 0 by the way, it's either 5 to 1, -1, etc. So let's say on innovation we believe we can do this, and let's say it's because of our artificial intelligence elements or natural language programming, whatever you want, where the innovation is the criteria here, that they want to be seen to be doing something different. We're going to score this a +5. Democratic Insights, perfect. We have a mobile app, but only, let's say, on Android, so it's a +3. API, we don't have an API, but they really need it, so we're going to score that like a -5. White labeling, yep, we're more than happy to do white labeling, but only in certain circumstances, etc., etc. So what are we going to score that? Well, because it's only in certain circumstances, and we can do it, I'm just going to score this a 1, and score this a +1. Fantastic. So we have our weighting, and that's it, right? No. This is just the initial discovery process. We've got into the opportunity now. We're understanding what they're looking to try and do. We're going through all of their, needs and understanding. We're looking at the risks and benefits from the very first one of these podcasts, and we're uncovering more and more and more about what it is that they're looking to do and try and do. Now, this list will evolve as not only we share more information together between the prospect and us, and also as more people get involved and engaged, particularly when the project team, as we discussed last time, gets resourced with additional team members outside of the original project team. So, one of the things could be that actually, as part of the buying criteria, they need to use, let's say, their own T's and C's. So we could put that in as a buying criteria, for example. Okay, so we have this, we have a nice score here. This score in itself, by the way, can work on its own. You don't need to fill in anything else. there's no need to total these things up, and you can if you like, and have a running total. But because it evolves, sometimes it doesn't help, but you can if you like. If this shows you on an individual level what it is you need to be doing, you don't really want to be working on averages for a whole host of reasons. So anyway, I'd keep this as discrete numbers. The other thing that I would do is, as this is all evolving in your sales process, is I would put a bit loud, wasn't it? I'll put a weighting against this, and it's a very simple weighting. It's based on how many people in the decision-making team, i.e. the project team, want this. So let's say you have a decision-making unit or a project team of, let's say, 5 or 6, let's say 6, and you're going to say, right, out of the innovation team, it's going to be 4 out of the 6 want this. 6, it's a full percentage want this. API, we don't have it, but 4 people need it. White labeling, yeah, it's fantastic, but it's only to a limited functionality. But 5 people need it, etc., etc. So now you have your weighting, and if you then want to multiply to get a number, you can do that as well. So this becomes plus 20, for example. This becomes plus 18. This becomes minus 20. And this becomes plus 5. So you can start to see where their key drivers are, and also where our key gaps are. So you may think that that this is only useful at the beginning of the sales process, but one of the great things about this is, oops, a bad line, you can actually also use this as part of the next stages in the blue sheet. Not only the contact map, but also the win and vision statement. So this is how you keep not only yourself honest, but also your prospects kind of honest and in line with what they're looking for, and how they're articulating with you what it is they're looking from a win and vision statement. So I think we'll keep it for there today. I find this very, very useful, not only in terms of managing the existing sales process, but also at the end of the sales process, post-sale, and you've won the deal, and they're really excited to be working with you. You then have a really up-to-date set of requirements that you need to keep on top of as part of the ongoing relationship with that client. So this, if you've got a really great product team, can be sent to your product marketing managers or your product managers to understand exactly what your key clients are looking for, and given how long sales processes last, by introducing some of these into your product, into the product managers or into the product backlog, this is a very useful way to make sure that the frontline salespeople are capturing even stuff that we don't do as a business, so we can make sure that the project managers are kept up to date as often as possible as to what buying criteria our prospects and clients are looking for. That's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed that. Next session, we'll be looking at the contact map and profile. All comments as usual are wonderful, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.